This is Josiah Plays The Elder Scrolls Online Dark Brotherhood DLC. It did it again, didn't it? Okay, this game does not like it when you try to type a command while the UI is turned off. I don't know why it should make a difference, but when you do that, it gets stuck with a little slash down there, and you can no longer use the command bar at all. Which I guess is fine. But maybe I should... Oh yeah, I can't even do the reload UI command because I can't use the bar at all. I don't suppose reload UI counts as an emote, does it? No, it does not. Well, it doesn't matter. What I need to do is a little bit of reading. I put the assassin personality back on now that I'm a skeleton, and it actually lets me do it. So I get the assassin related emotes, but I can't do any emotes now because I just broke my game basically. The only way to unbreak it is to completely log out and back in, which is stupid. So now we have this book, which is what I'm going to read first. That would seem a major impediment to ever getting player bounty hunters into it. People teaming up so one accumulates a huge bounty and then the other takes them down. That's true. That is probably something that they've had to figure out how to worry about. Well, presumably what they would do is they would just have it to where you would always get a flat amount for taking down somebody, regardless of what their actual bounty was. Like, hey, we're paying 100 gold for every criminal you take down. Whatever, who cares how much their actual bounty is or whatever. Because otherwise, yeah, it would be completely gameable. I guess it would be gameable anyway. There'd have to be some way to control people from not just manipulating it somehow. Alright, let's read Fire and Darkness Part 2. I haven't read Fire and Darkness Part 1 to my knowledge, but it doesn't matter. This seems relevant about assassination stuff. By Ynir Gorming. Evidence of the Morag Tong's expertise in assassination seems scarcely necessary. The few instances of someone escaping a murder attempt by them are always remarkable and rare, proving that they were and are patient, capable murderers who used their tools well. A fragment of a letter found among the effects of a well-known armorer has been sealed in our vaults for some time. It was likely penned by an unknown Tong assassin ordering weapons for his order, and offers some illumination into what they looked for in their blades, as well as the mention of Vonora, the island where the Tong sent its agents in retirement. I congratulate you on your artistry and the balance and heft of your daggers. The knife blade is whisper thin, elegantly wrought, but impractical. It must have a bolder edge, for arteries, when cut, have a tendency to self-seal, preventing adequate blood loss. I will be leaving Vonora in 2 weeks' time to inspect your new tools, hoping they will be more satisfactory. The Morag Tong spread quietly through Tamriel in the early years of the Second Era, worshipping Mephala and Sithis with blood, as they had always done. When the Morag Tong assassinated the Emperor Remen in the year 2920 of the First Era, and his successor, Potentate Versaduce, in the 324th year of the Second Era, the assassins so long in the shadows were suddenly thrust into the light. They had become brazen, drunk with murder, literally #drunk with murder, literally painting the words Morag Tong on the wall in the potentate's blood. The Morag Tong was instantly and unanimously outlawed in all corners of Tamriel, with the exception of its home province of Morrowind, because the Dark Elves are evil as shit, where they continued to operate with the blessings of the houses, apparently cutting off all contact with their satellite brothers to the west. There they continue their quasi-legal existence, accepting black writs and murdering with impunity. Most scholars believe that the birth of the Dark Brotherhood, the secular murder-for-profit hot order of assassins, was as a result of a religious schism in the Morag Tong. Given the secrecy of both cults, it is difficult to divine the exact nature of it, but certain logical assumptions can be made. In order to exist, the Morag Tong must have appealed to the highest power in Morrowind, which at that time, the Second Era, could only have been the tribunal of... Wait, isn't it the Second Era right now? I think they just grabbed a book from Skyrim and put it in here. I mean, there's a lot of books from Skyrim or the other Elder Scrolls games that are just in this, but I don't think they thought this one through, because we are in the Second Era, and this was written as if we were, for a different book, probably a different game where we weren't in the Second Era, and so they didn't edit it to reflect, because if it was the Second Era, nobody would write, which at that time, the Second Era, that would be like saying, if I wrote a book right now today that said, at that time, back in 2017, right, that would sound stupid. Could only have been the tribunal of Amalexia, Sothasil, and Vivek. Mephala, whom the Tong worshipped with Sithis, was said to have been the anticipation of Vivek. What the hell? Hold on. What is this? Foolish pride wants to be your friend. Okay. It did, yeah, mind you, this was also in Oblivion. Well, yeah, I know they carried over a lot of books from Oblivion into Skyrim, and a lot of books from Skyrim into this game. Alright, this anticipation of Vivek. Is it not logical to assume that in exchange for toleration of their continued existence, the Tong would have ceased their worship of Mephala in exchange for the worship of Vivek? The Morag Tong continues, as we know, to worship Sithis. The Dark Brotherhood is not considered a religious order by most, merely a secular organization, offering murder for gold. I have seen, however, proof positive in the form of writs to the Brotherhood that Sithis is still revered above all. So where, the reader asks, is the cause for the schism? How could a silent war have begun when both groups are so close? Both assassins' guilds, after all, worship Sithis, and yet a figure emerges from history who should give those with this assumption pause. The Night Mother. Who the Night Mother is, where she came from, what her functions are, no one knows. Karlovac Townway, in his generally well-researched historical fiction 2920, The Last Year of the First Era, tries to make her the leader of the Morag Tong, but she is never historically associated with the Tong, only the Dark Brotherhood. The Night Mother, my dear friend, is Mephala. Now that I haven't heard before. The Dark Brotherhood of the West, unfettered by the orders of the Tribunal, continue to worship Mephala. They may not call her by her name, but the Daedra of Murder, Sex, and Secrets is their leader still. She's the Daedra of Murder, Sex, and Secrets? That's rad! I've never seen somebody be like the something of murder and sex combined. That's great. And they did not. Because I like murder and sex, is what I'm saying. I think they go together well. Like peanut butter and jelly. And they did not, and still do not, to this day, forgive their brethren for casting her aside. Although they should not be combined at the same time. The cobbler who met his end in the Second Era, who saw no end in the war between the Brotherhood and the Tong, was correct. In the shadows of the Empire, the Brothers of Death remain locked in combat, and they will likely remain that way forever. Yeah, I don't believe this is true either. I mean, we have all kinds of books about the Night Mother. The Night Mother is mentioned in all these books. Like the Night Mother's truth pretty much straight up says, no, it's not Mephala. And this is where we learned that she killed her kids and stuff, I think. Okay. We're gonna read all the Captain Wereshark books now. Even part 5, which we've already read, because now we're gonna be rereading it in context. So let's start with part 4. The Saga of Captain Wereshark, part 4. The Pyandonia Expedition. With our debts settled, we bid goodbye to Gnarlnose and Stegelfins, left the frozen shores of Skyrim, and set sail laden with treasures twice as heavy as all the brave sailors we lost. The Pale Spirit was so laden with Nordic booty, hashtag Nordic booty, she plowed through the sea like a harbor seal, hashtag plowed like a harbor seal. Wow, alright. The Pale Spirit, some people hear it, some people fear it, some people just won't go near it. Laden with Nordic booty. I'm just imagining something very different than what I think the writer intended. Man, this ship is laden with Nordic booty. She plowed through the sea like a harbor seal. But we made port without so much as a sailor overboard. Unknown to us, our next expedition would be our most dangerous yet. Wait, what is this? I don't know, not quite. The Morag Tongue basically fell the fuck apart following the eruption of Red Mountain. It did sort of reform. Well, they're a thing in this game. The whole storyline of the Morrowind expansion pretty much revolves around the Morag Tongue, as I understand it. So we'll be checking all that out eventually. If you're a member of the Dark Brotherhood, they'll send people out to kill you. Ha! Knocks too much booty in the pants! Oh, I'm so tempted to alt-tab out and play that song, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Too much Nordic booty in the pants. We reached the port in Wayrest, and it took only a few days before Captain Wereshark made the acquaintance of Duke Gignac, the aging Breton adventurer. He purchased many of our Nordic relics, and impressed by my captain's legendary charisma, and more importantly, the urging of his oldest daughter, Lucette. Too much Breton booty in the pants. The captain suckered the old man into funding the Pale Spirit's next expedition to the Maumar Islands of Pyandonia. Wearing a new red feather from Lucette in his crown, the Wereshark returned us to sea. Our stated purpose was to do what we could to open permanent trade relations with the Sea Elves, But the were-shark, as always, intended merely to plunder all we could. Beside the war galleons Cliff Racer and Silver Arrow... Oh no. Silver Arrow. In before talk of Duodon ensues in the chat. Hired from Beldros Lalu for a decent fee and percentage of the booty. Wow, we're dividing the booty up by percentage now. How does that work? I know, they're not talking about that kind of booty, Josiah. We sailed with a wind at our backs and enough supplies to feed an army of ravenous Nords for months. As with all our expeditions, things went just fine until they didn't. Those Marmor sea serpents. They aren't just legends. Our first encounter came shortly after we first sighted a jungle isle common to sea elves in the distance, cloaked by a dense fog. The sound of snapping wood and screaming men drifted across the sea as the were-shark, myself, and every armed sailor rushed to the Pale Spirit's deck. We were just in time to see the Cliff Racer's broken hull sinking below the waves, wrapped in the scaled coils of an enormous snake. Snake hype. Never one for half measures, the were-shark shouted for every archer on the boat to loose arrows. Arrows peppered the slimy beast. Wait a minute. Snakes are not slimy. I object to this characterization. It is an unfortunate and outdated stereotype that needs to die. Hashtag Snake Lives Matter. Arrows peppered the majestic and beautiful beast as it dragged the Cliff Racer to her grave, yet no shaft could penetrate the noble beast's thick scales. That's when that old lizard, Hardscales, grabbed his poisoned daggers and leapt into the sea, shouting something about Sithis. That crazy Argonian has had a death wish since the day he signed on. Hey Fred, come to bed, welcome back. Besides, there's a core new copy. You're still on the core thing? Core hasn't been relevant. Core hasn't been relevant in so long. You might as well be making fucking puns about Vanilla Ice. Wouldn't you know it, as mighty flicker boomed warnings to the Silver Arrow from atop the mainmast, and the were-shark rallied every sailor capable of swinging a sword. Something surfaced on the frothing sea. Old Hardscales, covered in glistening black serpent blood, and behind him the bobbing length of a massive marmor serpent. Stiff and dead as something dragged in by a barn cat. Now, don't ask me how Hardscales managed to get his daggers through its scales, or how he managed to breathe under the sea for all that time. Everybody knows Argonians can hold their breath for a minute. And not a literal minute, but a minute meaning a long time. Or how he knew his poison was vile enough to drop a snake twice as long as a galleon. All I know is Hardscales never talked about it. After, save for expressions of disappointment over failing to meet Sithis once more. As we took on survivors from the Cliff Racer, the were-shark pledged a full chest of booty to Hardscales. All that booty, too much booty in the chest, dance, too much booty in the... No one complained. Now wait a milli vanilla second there. Okay, Sido, now you're bringing up old shit. Blame it on the rain. I mean, Sido, yeah. Blame it on Sido. Yeah, yeah. You're right, Milli Vanilli can be relevant. We talk about blaming it on someone. I can see why you'd bring them up, Sido. Hashtag blame Sido. No one complained. Wary of more serpents, the were-shark gave orders to anchor off the shore of the fog-cloaked jungle isle in shallow water where we could see anything between us and the sea floor. Son, welcome back. You're crisscrossing history, man. How does somebody from Denmark even know about crisscross? They are so irrelevant even in this country of their birth. Like, are you serious? People were listening to crisscross in Denmark? Crisscross will make you jump, jump. Daddy Mac will make you jump, jump. I'd like to hear, like, the version of that translated into Danish. Alright, what are we reading about? They killed the serpent, game orders. See anything between us and the seafloor? Pale Spirit and Silver Arrow sent 4 boats ashore with the were-shark at their head. Yet not one water-colored sea elf showed his face when we made landing. We all thought the island abandoned. We could not have been more wrong. Dun dun dun. Mark as read. Let's read the next one. Part 5. The Pyandonia expedition continued. It was only after the crew finished dragging the boats ashore that it started. Irregular growling and snorting peppered with ear-splitting snaps of breaking wood, like a wild boar rutting on a bed of rotted timbers. It came from somewhere in the thick cluster of skinny trees that crept up on the white sand beach. Last time I made the joke about the trees creeping up. What the fuck? Not gonna do it this time. Any other captain would have had us back on the boats and out to the Pale Spirit before you could gather enough spit to fill a thimble. It's a good one. But the were-shark's a different sort. He called us all to order on the white sand beach, his booming growl forming sailors up as pretty as a military procession. The first sailor to gut whatever beast made that teeth-grinding racket, the were-shark proclaimed, would get his pick of plundered items from the expedition, as well as a well-wa steak dinner in the were-shark's personal cabin. Just like that, the crew went from worried to eager for battle and everything else. If you've never had well-wa steak, dear reader, know there's nothing better. Not from cows. The way Bagroga salts and cooks it tastes like beef. Not that any of us would know what beef tastes like. And salted cheese and slides down your gullet like greased plantains. No man who sails with the were-shark can smell it without their mouth watering. And I'll admit, even my own stomach grumbled at its ascent. What is this now? Invited to join? No. Fuck you. I'm not joining a guild with 2 S's on the end. Because you tried to name it Darkness Falls, and you realized that your unoriginal name had already been taken, so you just added an extra S. No. I will not join your dunce guild. In before this person that invited me is a viewer of the stream right now, and I've just deeply offended them. No thanks. Fine. Where were we? The were-shark broke us into groups. Hardscales would lead a party consisting of Bugnose, One-Eyed Bozzy, and 5 sailors from the Cliff Racer along the beach, in case the forest beasts ventured out to sea, or there was habitation to be found and looted. Mighty Flicker would lead the tribe of Nord Axe-swingers, who signed on with us at the Starving Dog. Is that all the Nord booty that they were talking about? East into the forest to kill or flush whatever was making that rhythmic growl, with Galena Two-Scars along to scout. Never did I see a wood elf happier to see trees. Son, just invited me to join the best guild. Fuck this, I'm out of here. Go listen to some crisscross. The were-shark chose to lead the last group himself. That including his loyal first mate, yours truly, the Snowclaw twins. I've seen some of their porn. Vimy LaCroix, and the exiled High Elf Naramo. Why was he exiled? The world may never know. We were to scout the rocky shoals to the south of our landing position and circle around to Hardscales' group. We were a smaller party than the rest, but I've never met a knife-ear better at making people explode than Naramo the Mad Mage. I'm sure they love being called knife-ears. The shoals were treacherous but empty, and we trekked for almost an hour, listening to that horrible growling before we came across a bunch of empty huts made out of sticks, mud, and leaves. No one was home, and there was nothing in the homes but giant eggshell fragments, but it confirmed the island was inhabited, or had been, until whatever was in that forest got hungry and came out on the beach. The growling came and went, teeth grinding as ever, but we'd heard no screaming or shouts of terror from the other parties. That meant, whatever it was, Mighty Flicker hadn't found it yet. I almost pitied whatever was making the racket until it stepped out onto the beach and stared at us. A four-legged lizard bull. Oh, it's a bull. Nox gets excited. I'm imagining something like an owlbear right now that's made of like half lizard and half bull. Actually, his character in my game was a dragonborn who turned into a draconic bull, right? So it's kind of like that. A four-legged lizard bull, twice as tall as Bugnose. The thing had green scales and, I swear by Mara's skirts, a glittering trident. That's a euphemism for its penis. Shiny as one you'd see carried by some stuffy Altmer Queensguard on the streets of Oregon. Yeah, those fucking Altmer Queensguard carrying their shiny penises about. Dragon Bull. Hashtag terrifying moo. That's right. Needless to say, no one objected when Naramo, the knife-ear, hit it in the face with a fireball. Half lizard, half bull, half man. Man, bear, pig! Alright, that one's done. Let's look at the next part of the saga. The saga continues! I had like 10 viewers when I started reading these books, and now I'm down to 6. What does that tell you? It tells you a lot. It tells you that people don't want to listen to this shit. I'm continuing to read. What does that tell you? It tells you that I don't give a fuck. The Pyandonia expedition continued. After Naramo set the lizard bull on fire, the trident-wielding monstrosity charged. Again, penis. The wereshark ordered us back onto the shoals, where the lizard beast's footing became treacherous. The Snowclaw twins filled the beast with arrows, but could not bring it down, and I wished desperately for some of Hardscales' deadly poison. Euphemism for, well, let's not. That's when Vimy sprang into action, sprinting so fast I could hardly follow. The beast swung at her with its trident. Hey now, it's turning into that kind of a story. But Vimy slid under the strike and vaulted herself onto its back, with no more effort than mounting a horse. Moments later, the lizard bull had knives sticking out of both eyes. Not a cat. Blinded, all it could do was roar and swing its trident as Naramo set it once more aflame. With a fierce cry, the wereshark called us to action. He and the Snowclaw twins fell upon the beast with axe and blade, as I called down spells to aid and heal them from afar. Blinded, burning, and exhausted, the beast fell, but not before a blind swing tossed Baldur Snowclaw across the beach. Unfortunately, the blow only hit his head, the hardest part of a Nord, and I ensured he didn't bleed for all that long. Listen, I don't know what bars you've been to, but I can tell you right now that's not the hardest part of a Nord. Know what I mean? Huh? Heyo! Beast dealt with, the wereshark ordered us to search the huts one last time. We found absolutely nothing of value. Just those eggshell fragments, and so the wereshark wisely ordered us back to the boats. The growling hadn't stopped, which meant more massive lizard bulls lumbered through the trees. An island filled with empty huts and lizard bulls was not the place to risk our lives. There were other pearls to be clutched. And pearls to be clutched is a euphemism. We returned to the beach to await the others, and when we reached it, we found an army of glistening sea elves. They surrounded our boats and had Hardscales, Bugnose, and the Cliff Racer survivors hostage. I learned later the cat-hating bastards gutted One-Eyed Bozzy for sport. Cloaked from view, the Wereshark took our counsel. We couldn't leave Hardscales and Bugnose in chains. And besides, the Sea Elves had our ships. A Maormer warship was just visible, anchored between the Pale Spirit, the Silver Arrow, and Open Sea, which would hinder our escape even if we did manage to somehow return to them. After a moment of consideration, the Wereshark made his decision. We would negotiate. That's a euphemism for not negotiate. Status is Droven Wyvern Jack, 2016 to 2016. No, seriously, it was the gods who wrote that in the sky. It's a joke for people who watch the old D&D videos, which is not very many people. But if you were one of them, now you may laugh. He ordered us to wait in the shadows and to attack only if he shouted, "Stendar's blood!" Understand, dear reader, we are pirates, and all pirates know the fate of one taken by sea elves. Any of us would gladly embrace a death gutting those knife ears over being carved up as a storm sacrifice. I suppose if I lived in Elder Scrolls world, I would call elves knife ears, because it's like, that's the nicest possible thing you could call them. If you made any reference to their face, it would have to be much ruder than that. Because Elder Scrolls elves are some fucking fuggos. Did you just say fucking fuggo? Isn't the fug part of fuggo supposed to be... I mean, aren't we portmanteauing fucking and uggo already? So fucking fuggo is redundant, Josiah. It's like saying ATM machine or PIN number. Fine. My point is, Elder Scrolls elves are some fuggos. Any of us would gladly embrace a death gutting those knife ears over being carved up as a storm sacrifice. If the Sea Elves refused to negotiate, the Wereshark promised more than a few of them would be floating home. The moment the Wereshark announced himself, over 4 dozen Sea Elves, it was like 6, drew blades and bows and turned to him, milky eyes wide. But my captain sauntered toward them, as if strolling down any crowded street in Abar's Landing. Abar's Landing is the city that's in this game as the place where you go for the Thieves Guild questline. It's the city that was added for the Thieves Guild DLC. The more you know. He kept his hands visible and away from his sword hilts. And the Sea Elves let him come. No doubt Hardscales had told them of our captain's many exploits, as instructed. Elder Scrolls elves used to look no worse than anyone else, but then there was the anime face plague. I'm not sure what that means, Saito. Joke failed to land. Nox is linking all kinds of pictures of random bizarre cow-related things, I'm sure. When they moved to disarm him, the Wereshark made no protest as they removed his swords, and then the daggers from his boots, and the dagger from his belt, and those up his sleeves. That was when the slimmest of the Sea Elves, a pale-faced fool in golden armor that glinted in the sun, approached my captain and backhanded him across the face. The Wereshark spit at his feet and grinned wide. I glanced at Vimy, who rolled her eyes. Not a good start to the negotiations. Mighty Flicker chose that moment to charge from the forest with her Nords, all howling like a pack of enraged Welwas. Uh-oh, here comes that. When angry Nordic booty attacks. They have become Animu, kawaii of worlds. They have big eyes and small mouths. I still don't really understand. The first one was that Drover flaming bull picture, and the second one was a bull lizard, a bulligator. Is a bulligator a real thing, or is it just like a fictional thing? This shows you how much I know about our world. 8 trident-swinging lizard bulls rushed the beach after them, chased by a gleeful Galena Truscars. Oh, they herded the lizard bulls to the attack! Dun 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 dun. Ride of the Lizard Bulls, later renamed Ride of the Valkyries. Yes. This is some good shit for Saito right here. The victory of the Lizard Bulls coming in to save the day. You know what, Josiah? I don't understand why you hate Quinn. I've explained it at length. Mark as read. And there's one last part to this story. Part 7. The Saga of Captain Wereshark, Part 7. The Pyandonia Expedition continued. Nox says they heard, H-E-R-Z, and obeyed. Nice. The sudden charge of a tribe of blood-crazed Nord axe swingers and a horde of trident-swinging, remember what tridents are, lizard bulls must have rattled the sea elf captain. I would be rattled too, for he shouted a panicked cry to his bowmen. They foolishly turned their arrows on the enraged beasts. The futile attacks only enraged the lizard bulls all the more, and in the commotion the wereshark shouted, "Stendar's blood!" As one, we charged into battle. The enraged lizard bulls fell upon the... Don't you mean the... engorged lizard bulls? The enraged lizard bulls fell upon the frightened sea elves. But then they saw that they were elves and they lost their erections. Because fuggos. Ripping them apart or tossing them into the trees. By the time the sea elves rallied, forming a phalanx of shields and casting lightning and storms, Mighty Flicker and the rest were past them, meeting us at the shore. The wereshark had reclaimed his weapons by then, and those sea elves, too slow to flee, fell as we freed our compatriots from bondage. It's that kind of story, huh? Caught between a crowd of the most ruthless buccaneers to ever raise a sail, and a herd of enraged lizard bulls, even the cluster of sea elves wilted like a moon blossom in Sentinel's heat. Eventually, the surviving Mauma scattered and fled into the wolves, chased by most of the lizard bulls. With Naromo and Vimy to show the others how it was done, we took down what few lizard bulls challenged us. After quickly looting every valuable we could from the elf corpses, we survivors rushed into our boats and pushed out onto open sea. All of us kept wary eyes on the anchored sea elf galleon floating beyond the Pale Spirit. New fog rolled in behind us, and I'll never forget the tortured cries of those sea elves as the lizard bulls chased them down and gored them. It's best that we don't really picture that too carefully. Despite their barbarous ways, I almost pitied the poor bastards as the island's terrifying inhabitants slaughtered them to the last. Captain Wereshark now wore the golden-armored leader's helmet on his own head, though that was more of a mocking joke than a permanent adjustment. As if the Wereshark would ever truly doff his ever-changing tangle of marvelous colored feathers. How then would people recognize him? As we rowed and sea elves screamed, we waited for lightning or storms or another sea serpent attack, but we reached the Pale Spirit and clambered aboard as the surviving crew of the Silver Arrow did the same. We set sail, but the sea elf warship stayed where it was, anchored. I knew then that fool of a sea elf captain had not left enough sailors on board to sail his warship home. On another day we might have seized her, But we had neither the necessary crew to sail her, nor a benefactor who would buy her. I watched the fog swallow that sea elf warship, and the island of enraged lizard bulls. The screams persisted long after both had vanished from view, but soon there was no sound but the gentle lapping of the sea, and the flapping of the pale spirit's mighty sails. We sailed with the Silver Arrow all through the night, in case there were more sea elf warships in search of the first, but no others challenged us. The fog burned off with the new day to reveal another island, far more promising than the last. As we slid silently forward, and sailors the fuck was that? And sailors readied weapons. We could see the glistening spires of sea elf architecture, and more importantly, no visible sea elf soldiers guarding her shores. This was likely another fishing village, so remote, an unexpected attack. Our haul from this raid would be massive. With a twinkle in his eye and his feathers flapping in the wind, Captain Wereshark ordered the attack! Alright, so we've learned about Captain Wereshark, and holy shit. I will never be the same. Everything I was visualizing during the reading of that story was probably very different from how the writer intended it. Whoo! Wow. That was intense. Intense. I still have a 731 gold bounty. Okay. I can see now how this is going to be. I don't want your small game. Bum 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 bum. Now I have to go this way. Bum 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 bum. Why does my thingy keeps coming back? Stop coming back, thingy. This is not the right way. My thingy keeps coming back, and I don't want my thingy to come back. Plus my other thing is fucked up. Hold on a damn minute. I'm fixing my shit. What? Fred come to bed like a crazy person, ejaculating bits all over the channel. Wait a minute, what? Oh my god, 300 bits from Fred come to bed. Thank you. I really appreciate it. That is a frankly ludicrous number of bits for me. I don't even understand that number. That is like the number of Spartans just came marching into my channel, and each one was a bit. Thank you, Fred come to bed. You are too kind. You are too kind. It is ludicrous, as Nox says. Alright. Thanks, Fred. For real. Maybe it's possible one day I will reach the legendary 10,000 bits. If people are actually giving me bits like that, if that's a real thing that can happen, my whole expectation of the future has just been reevaluated. I am rolling deep in bits. Yeah, I am. Where the fuck? Oh, I see where I am. When I got affiliate and they're like, now you can have bits, I was like, whatever, dude. Nobody is ever going to give me any bits. I mean, a few people might give me like 5 bits now and then, just for the lulz, but basically, no one's ever going to give me any bits. I was not expecting, wow, look at all this shit. I like how this person doesn't give any shits about that dead body of its compatriot right there. Thanks, Fred. You appreciate my stuff? I appreciate hearing that. YouTube too? Really? What do you watch on my YouTube? Because I'm used to my YouTube stuff not really being watched by hardly anyone. The only thing that's actually been watched by a few people on YouTube is my Pillars of Eternity, part of it, because virtually no one, I don't mean no one because Saito has, but virtually no one has watched that whole thing. Not that I don't blame them, because who the fuck has time for all that, but my Pillars of Eternity and my Batman Arkham Asylum playthroughs have both had a few people actually watch them. Everything else, every other playthrough I've done on there has been watched by like 20 people tops. And I know that my shit is bad because here's what happens. I'll have a video and it'll have like 500 fucking views or 1,000 on the first video, right? And then a few videos later in the series, it'll be down to like 5 views. So a lot of people watched the very beginning of the first one and they were like, nope, this sucks. Mostly Torment? You mean Tides of Numenera? Or the little bit of Planescape Torment that I did? I like Tides of Numenera, that was great. Now I'm just trying to steal some shit. Got some honey, I got some canteen cozy. Look at my inventory, it's getting pretty full. Getting pretty full. Somebody in here that need a die.
Whatever you're selling, we're not interested.
I'm sorry, what? I didn't hear you over the sound of all your dying sounds. Are you?
I demand that you leave now.
I demand. That you die. I don't even care about my bounty anymore. Don't even care. So many Steve Blooms being murdered. Yeah, Steve Bloom gets murdered a lot. Nox, and you have no money, so you have only your love to offer. That's okay. I don't need anybody's. I appreciate people who actually are around to watch and like chat with me a lot more than anything else. Of course, a lot of people don't have time. Even if for some bizarre reason they wanted to watch my stream all the time, most people don't actually have time to do that because they have lots of other stuff going on. Also, they much better things to watch most of the time. I still don't understand how select few people, such as Saito and Nox, for example. I still don't understand how it is that you haven't found better entertainment than me by now. There's a Piffle Trumpet. That's a great name. What is that thing? It's a Piffle Trumpet. Nobody trying to get all that. A Piffle Trumpet. Like my stream, son? Also at a convenient time for you? Well, that's good. This has got to be a weird fucking time in Denmark, though. Because I'm on, like, prime time for US right now. Or at least for West Coast US. I guess it's getting pretty late for East Coast. But it must be super late in Denmark. Comes a Crusader. There goes a Crusader. Just got murdered! Sneaking up on 5 AM. Look at all these. Oh, dude, look at all these things on the walls. There's heads of like trolls and whatever the fuck that thing is. And whatever the fuck that thing is. That's the guy I'm here to kill. Well, just got killed. I'll just take an abacus and a tackle box and a game board and playing pieces. Already read about river trolls. There he is again. He's already back.
You should leave if you know what's good for you.
You don't even know I'm here. I'm hidden. Don't be a dick burglar. A dick burglar? Is that what you just said? I feel super terrible when I murder a woman. Like, I don't mind murdering men. It's honestly fuck man, right? Who even likes them? They don't carry babies. What good are they? Look, all I know is I've been subjected to a lot of violence in my life, and I'm not saying I'm Mr. Innocent. I've committed a lot of violence as well, but I was subjected to violence a lot before I ever committed violence myself. Not that that excuses it or justifies it in any sort of abstract moral sense. It justified it in my own mind at the time, and maybe still looking back on it, it still kind of justifies it. But I understand that it's not really justified in an absolute moral sense. But my point is, all those people that subjected me to violence were men, not women. So fuck men. Man, this guy must die so many times a day. Alright, I think I'm gonna kill him next, myself. Actually, let's see what's over here. Good night, buddy. I didn't realize I was using the bow. That and that. And my bags are starting to get kind of full. If you murder an NPC, does it respawn later with the same name? Yes. Not even, a lot of times, well, some ones take a long time to respawn if they're not essential. This is a plot essential target, so it's going to respawn quickly so that people don't have to stand around here. Who's this guy? Nabshuk. How you doing? I would set you free if I could, but the game won't let me because the game is a dick. Commander Marcus Scipio. My turn. Somebody wants his aid come to. I'm here. Won't let me do anything though. Won't let me talk to you, won't let me open this. So, is there a lever I can pull or something? It doesn't look like it. It won't let me do anything with any of this. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, Nabshuk. Can't help you. Unless you come over here closer, maybe then I can talk to you. So yeah, it feels fucked up to murder women, even if they're fictional characters, because basically no woman has ever done anything to me. There's lots of men have been total dickweeds. Well, I don't know where I'm supposed to go now. Oh, now I go back to the Count's room, right, because I'm supposed to scare him. I murdered the commander of the Order of the Hour. Now I need to find Count Carolus and tell him what happened to Commander Scipio to complete this contract. I don't know that he's going to be all that scared, though. Oh. Well, that was some super stealth. I should not be using the bow here. What the fuck did he just do? A beetle shell cheese plate. A plate designed to serve cheese made from the shell of a giant beetle. You know, as one does. What's up, Moomba? How you doing? Is Brad still streaming? Too hot at Texas Place? Oh, did he stop streaming because it was too hot? What's up with his air conditioner? He was just telling me last night how his air conditioner works good. You like a Bethesda game, if you take something from them when they're alive, it's stealing. But if you kill them first and then loot the body, it's cool. Well, in this game, it doesn't work that way. If you loot a dead body, a dead innocent person, quote-unquote innocent, and because their items still count as stolen, and if you take that in front of somebody, it still counts as stealing and you still get more bounty. I don't even care about being stealthy anymore. At this point, I'm just on a murder spree. My bounty's 1,000,000 at this point, so fuck it. I will be a little bit stealthy though. 1100, yeah. 1185 even. That's not enough. Child things get easier. Child things will be brighter. Oh, I'm up to 1447. Had some nasty heat. Bags are getting full. Trying to level up my bow skill right now because it's a couple points behind my two-handed skill. Alright, we're gonna go in here.
Sweet mother, send your child unto me, for the sins of the unworthy must be baptized in blood and fear.
He's actually doing the Dark Sacrament right now. We're going to go in here and confront the Count in our next episode. If you're watching the stream, don't go anywhere because I'm not done playing. If you're watching on YouTube, this episode is now over. So thanks for watching. This has been Josiah Plays The Elder Scrolls Online Dark Brotherhood DLC.
Send your child.